Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for the market overview. And if you're interested in any of the services I provide, please check out the links in the description below for both the Patreon and Discord. Okay, so gonna unmute here so everyone in the live chat can hear me now. All right, let's quickly go over what's been going on in the market. So I've actually taken quite a big break from doing market recaps. I just got busy with life, but also I did want to let the markets kind of do their own thing. Just wanted to actually get a better idea of what's going on. I've had a couple of times where I've had, I think, good technicals, good ideas, but I was also finding that a lot of my technical ideas weren't really jiving or meshing well with fundamental things I've been looking at, right? So I've been a lot more bullish than I thought I would be, considering how fundamentally dire the economy looks. So starting off with the dollar, so dollar really went beyond my expectations with this drop. Okay, so I did think as we were creating this price action here, we would eventually have a pop up like we did here, come into these fair value gaps, which we did right here, tapped right into it, but to my surprise, we immediately fell off of it, completely rejected off this lower fair value gap here, and had a drop all the way down and eventually piercing under 102.7 and coming into this rising trend line here, which, in my opinion, this trend line is going to break just like this one here. Okay, so the more steep a trend line is, the more likely it's going to break sooner rather than later. That's just basic. All right, so this is no different. This is very likely to break. However, it's not likely to break immediately as we come into testing this. Now, it can. The probabilities aren't on the side of that, but it definitely can. So we may see Sunday night when futures open up or early Monday, this gap's lower, potentially. But the probability is on the side that we will see a minor bounce. Now, the bounces that I have been mapping out have definitely been undershot. I did think as we came up to here, we would fill these fair value gaps and continue to go higher into this blue zone back into here and then fail around this area here between 108 to 106, so right around this zone here, but we couldn't even do that. So we may get a bounce here, but we may get another lackluster bounce that will lead to potentially a bearish consolidation. Okay, so some sort of rising consolidation, sort of like this, which will be designed to break through this trend line. Okay, so this will muster the fuel to attempt to try and get under this trend line and then retrace further into the 100 to 97 zone. Okay, so 100.39 to 97.32 will be the ultimate zone that the dollar will look to retrace into. Now, I am still bullish on the dollar when I look at it on a decade basis. So from 2020 all the way to 2030 to 2034, I'm bullish on the dollar. Now within that time frame, there will be plenty of times where the dollar goes bearish in the short term to midterm, and this is one of those times. So we should see this retrace down, but once we get down to this zone, whether it's from a complete drop from here or we have that bearish consolidation, once we get to this zone, excuse me, look for a major consolidation to start, because this trend line here is part of a monthly structure, a bullish monthly structure. So this is where we broke out bullish on the monthly time frame, and us coming back to it is very common. Okay, every time you have a breakout, the majority of time you tend to have a retracement back to that breakout zone. Okay, so watch for this to happen on the monthly time frame, and we should hold the zone on the monthly time frame. Now that also means on the daily and weekly, you may have times where you do start trading under it, but within the monthly time frame, it's likely will close in or above this zone. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so that's it for the dollar. It's very exciting what's happening here. Let's take a look at the Dow. All right, so the Dow broke through. So I had message to the members about this trend line here. So 33931.2, so 33,931.2. So if this gets broken out, look for a pretty decisive move to the upside. And I actually think we're in the process of that. I don't think we're finished here. Now, we may get a pullback from here if the dollar is going to bounce from that rising trend line. But if we don't, or we don't have a significant bounce, look for this fair value gap here that we're trading into now, just like this one, to get fully filled, and then eventually tapping 35,000. Okay, taking out the liquidity above this wick, taking out the liquidity above this zone here, and potentially tapping into these pivots up here. All right, so this is very, very important to watch the Dow. I am bullish in the short term. All right, my point of view on the Dow is starting to change. If we can actually take out these pivots, okay, if we can take out these pivots, sort of like this, okay, and then if we pull back and we hold another higher low, I'm gonna have to start getting macro bullish again. All right, because if we do that, we're gonna threaten the all-time highs. And in my opinion, the only way that's happening is if we come across a major fundamental change with the Fed, and we are coming into the time period where we may get some pivots or ideas that the Fed will pivot sometime soon. So if that happens, watch out. The economy will probably tank like crazy, but the stock markets and potentially cryptos as well will rocket to new places. So we want to be very careful not to get too hyperbolic on anything, but we have to trust in what the charts are showing. And I can't be super bearish right now, but if we take this out here, that's when I'm looking for a major move up. If we can make a higher low after taking out that level. Okay, next is S&P 500. So S&P 500 coming into the descending trend line here. It looks very powerful. I'd be shocked if it actually slows down here. At least I'd be shocked if it has any significant slowdown here. You may get a day or two if we do have some bullish, some short-term bullish activity in the dollar where you trade just under it or back into the, into the bullish fair value gap zone we've made right here. So let me actually pop that on the chart. So we can take away this bear fair value gap. It got filled, and now we have a really small bullish fair value gap right here. Okay, so that fair value gap right there could be a little minor place where you get price come back into, hold this general zone, which is also on top of the 3,918 level, hold that level, and then have continuation higher. Okay, but this price action doesn't really indicate that. This is telling me that it's most likely we're going to just continue higher on the S&P, maybe slightly, okay, maybe slightly, not like a massive, boom burst up, but slightly where we decisively break past this descending trend line, and then we may see that consolidation or pullback if the dollar does continue to get fairly strong in the short term. All right, next is the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq back out of the descending channel, pretty much did exactly what it's been doing over here. Okay, kind of respecting it, going back into the channel, coming back and respecting the actual median line, and then we had this like triple bottom structure here, and we're back into this fair value gap here, and this is telling me continuation as well. I would look for a move higher to fill out this fair value gap completely, and then look for potentially as we come up into this short-term top here, this consolidation here, look for consolidation, but I'm still targeting this area up here in the end. Okay, unless the dollar gets super powerful, I do think we're gonna see a 12,500 Nasdaq at some point, so about another 1,000 points for the Nasdaq to the upside, but eventually we'll likely see the Nasdaq trade down back to its COVID lows, well, I should say the high pivot prior to the COVID 2020 lockdowns. Okay, so I am seeing us get back to this level at least to test out, just like the Dow did, and the S&P just missed it. So I still think the S&P and Nasdaq are likely going to get back to these levels, but that might be later this year. Depends on how bullish we get during the first 2 quarters of this year. And if you recall, if you go back to some recaps I've done, I've said over and over that it's very likely we're going to have a Santa Claus rally, and then we'll probably have a pretty early bullish moment in the markets of 2023. And so far, it's actually playing out. So we'll see how much it plays out going forward. Now let's take a quick look at gold and silver. Gold absolutely killing it, coming into this bearish fair value gap and broke this rising wedge structure. Okay, so this rising wedge structure is bearish, but it broke through, and that happens again. You're dealing with probabilities, not guarantees. So probabilities were that this would break down and at least come and test this higher fair value gap here to take out the liquidity under this level or down here. But off of the weakness of the dollar, completely just blew right through it, and it's probably going to make an extended move back towards 1950, so back towards the bottom end of this fair value gap. And I have it penciled in that I'm seeing about 2000 before a major pullback. And this is looking like that's on the way. So it's looking gold's looking absolutely fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Next is silver. Silver, same thing, okay, but silver is lagging gold. It's been doing it every single day, every single day. I'm not sure exactly why it's been like this the whole of last year. It looks like it's still doing it. Silver has really been lagging behind gold, but I have to be bullish on it because gold is so bullish, and it is trading into a lot more fair value gaps here. There's a bigger imbalance here than where gold is at, so there's a little bit more liquidity here for it to eat up. But look for it to eventually break these highs if gold gets continuation early next week. And you're probably going to see it go after this fair value gap right here. I don't actually have it marked. So the highest one right here. So this bearish fair value gap is likely going to be the target in the short term. I would be very surprised if this gets taken out dramatically. I would look for this to actually get tested, potentially a shot through to grab liquidity above this pivot up here, and then a pullback of major proportions. You may even see a spike to like 26, but once we get towards this upper zone up here, I'm looking for a major pullback. Just like if gold got to 2000, I would be looking for a major pullback. Now the pullback would be bullish in its nature, but it should be fairly serious, a fairly deep pullback. Let's take a look at oil, and then we'll look at Bitcoin to finish it out. So oil doing exactly as expected. Oil's been following our path, since the beginning at this point, coming in, testing the bottom end of this monthly bull structure, holding it, and then coming back up, failing down. And I said, watch for this fair value gap to play as the higher low level. It did exactly that, and now you can see continuation. And no one's paying attention. I've been ringing the alarm bells with oil. It's the scariest chart in the world. And if you watch what's going on in the world, especially in Europe, everyone is, I don't know why, but everyone's acting like they're in denial. Oil's going to shoot up to like over $90 to $100, potentially even higher. I mean, the demand for oil is going to be obscene as we go into February and March. I think people are really underestimating what's going to happen, and there's just not going to be enough, especially in Europe. And you're going to have this massive crunch of demand not being able to be met with the supply. There just won't be enough supply to meet that demand, and it's going to shoot oil up to God knows where. And I'm looking at towards the top of the monthly bull structure, and God forbid this monthly structure breaks bullish, you're probably going to see oil going up to 200 plus a barrel. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So just watch out for oil, unless some major news comes out where supply gets increased dramatically. I'm not seeing anything stopping this thing. This looks absolutely incredibly bullish, and that's unfortunate. All right, so let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. See what's going on with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin having a great couple days. Finally, it's been pretty rough if you've been in crypto, as you all know. So Bitcoin to me is at a major place. Now, obviously, it's filled out this imbalance here. Okay, so that was the first step. I've gone over a couple times in these recaps. This is the first place you want to see, but ultimately, this is where you want to see Bitcoin come up to fill out this imbalance up here and really overtake this consolidation we had built all through June of 2022 until we broke it down in November, right? So we want to see Bitcoin go higher. Now, there's some evidence that we will probably see Bitcoin go higher. We are due for a pullback of some sort, or at least a bullish consolidation. You have consecutive days of major bullish activity. So it's very likely you're going to get some sort of pullback. How deep? It remains to be determined, okay? Like we do have a couple levels we can look at. We obviously have these bullish fair value gaps right here. So we have the levels that we want to watch if we're going to have a pullback into Bitcoin already here on the charts. This is why fair value gaps are very useful in my opinion. They give you a general zone of where you want to look for, and it's all liquidity, and that's what runs the show, right? So these are the three major zones. I'm not really seeing anything else that's super big. No, I'm not really seeing anything else. So these are the major zones that I would be looking for Bitcoin to pull back to if we're going to have a pullback around here. Now, there's a couple things I want to go over with this. Now, Bitcoin's obviously broken this trend line, extremely bullish. So right here, we've broken out of this structure, and we've been in a descending wedge structure, okay, or a descending triangle, however you wish to describe it, all right? And this to me is absolutely confirmed. All right, so we look extremely good, barring any fundamental issues with the crypto market like Binance going under. We are likely going to have continuation. Now we may have a, like I said, a pullback back to the structure, back to the wedge, so all the way back down as low as 17.5 is definitely possible. All right, and that's actually fine. That's actually not that big a deal because you're coming back to the high pivots over here. But it's more likely you're going to have a pullback and probably retrace down towards the 20,000s, 19,000s if we are going to pull back around now. Now, there's a couple things I want to go over regarding the weekly. The weekly, though, is saying a different story. The weekly is extremely bullish. Okay. Now, tomorrow's when the weekly candle will close. So anything can happen between now and tomorrow. You never know. But if we should close like this or better, watch for the weekly to imply major continuation. And when I mean major continuation, I mean something like this. Okay. You're having something like this happen, where this is just the first breakout candle of a major trend happening. And this is called a bear market rally in a bear market. So we are in a bear market because what happened, we took out the lows, these pivots down here, this pivot down here, and are making new lows and then new lower highs. So we are in a bear market. We're in a downtrend. But in those markets, you get a bear market rally. And this could be the beginning of one that's major in the weekly chart. And we have a couple of pieces of evidence, if we go back down to the daily, of where we can see Bitcoin have a rally to if we're going to have a full extension here. Okay, so if we have a full extension from this wedge that we broke bullish on the daily, this is where I can see Bitcoin getting to. And it's pretty interesting. Gets us all the way up towards about 26.5 to 27,000, which is this imbalance right here. This is what we've been talking about for the past couple months, almost like 8 months, I would say. We're going to get towards this imbalance over here, fill it out, because the selling isn't there anymore, guys. This was the FTX debacle, and it barely sold off. There's not enough liquidity, there's not enough sellers to bring us lower. So to do that, you need to make a new rally, get more buyers, more dumb money in. The smart money like us bought in down here, or we at least DCA down to here, alt and Bitcoin, and now we're going to ride the damn thing up, where the stupid money is going to come buying all the way up and then wonder why it's turning over here and make new lows. That's what's likely going to happen. That's what's most likely the path forward. Watch for us to get towards at least 23.5, 24, 26, and potentially all the way up towards 27 to 28. All right. And then I would look for a major pullback as we start to fight at this consolidation here. Okay. If we were to take out this consolidation, let's say on the weekly, all right, that's when things will start to change, because then we're going to be looking at this fair value gap off of the weekly time frame. So this bearish fair value gap here between 34.5 to 37.5. And this is where you want to look for a lower high to be made on the macro structure. Okay. If we start taking this out, that's when, of course, the story is going to change. But we're not there yet. We're nowhere near there yet. But this would be the ultimate place where I would look for a major turnaround for Bitcoin to go lower, if we could even get to that level off of the weekly time frame. So I'm very bullish on Bitcoin in the short term, and at fairly the midterm when I'm looking at the weekly, like, looking at a couple weeks to months out. I can see the first 2 quarters of Bitcoin being fairly bullish overall on the weekly chart. But on the scope of the year, I am going to be bearish on Bitcoin. I do think Bitcoin personally will get towards that 15, 14, 12, and potentially even 10,000 mark at some point. Okay, so watch for a bear market rally. We're prepared. If you're in the members and you're in the swing trades and all, we're prepped for that. We're loving what's happening. So watch for this to occur. And then as we go higher, we're going to slowly close out those longs and transition short, because it's very likely we're just going to make a lower high on the macro structure, and then we're going to eventually start making new lows over the next year or so. Okay? All right, that is it for the overview. I hope everyone enjoyed. Hope it made sense. If you have any questions, obviously leave a comment on the YouTube video, or at least join the Discord if you haven't already. You can always contact me via there. And if you're interested in any of those services I provide, make sure to check out the links in the description below. I do the swing trade, day trading, and tutoring services, and I think all 3 are of major value. Tell me different. And remember, be patient, be vigilant, and be nimble. I love you guys. Take care. Bye.